All right, what up, YouTube? It is Chris. I am back with another episode of the Chris Cross Show. Um, I have a couple things I want to get to this week, but first, let's backtrack to last week. Last week, I made my predictions on the NFL wildcard weekend, and I said the Bills, the Patriots, the Saints, and the Seahawks were going to win. Um, and I went 1 for 4 last weekend. My only prediction was Seattle. I said the Bills were going to win because they're just gritty and grindy. And I said the Patriots are winning because Ryan Tannehill has never had success in Gillette Stadium. And I said the Saints were going to win because I just felt like Kirk Cousins had his special moment getting into the playoffs, and I just felt that there really wasn't enough for him to kind of get in. So those are my predictions. Obviously, the Texans won, and then the Titans won, and the Vikings won, and the Seahawks won. One thing I want to talk about is people are saying is the dynasty over for the New England Patriots. I think winning championships is out of the picture for them. I think if Tom Brady does come back, they still will compete, but it's not like they're gonna be this team that is gonna be a Super Bowl contender. They're gonna be in the playoffs, but they're not gonna do much because I feel like the Bills are taking the next step. I feel like the Jets in their division are doing well with Sam Darnold. I mean, Sam Darnold missed the first 4 weeks of the season with mono, and then they come back and they're like what 7-9 or something. So, in my opinion, I think the Bills and the Jets are coming up, and I think that this is the Patriots' time. I think it's not going to be an easy walk to the playoffs anymore. I think their division's getting better. I think Miami will hopefully be better next year. Don't know what they're doing exactly, but they did beat them on the last game of the regular season, so it's not like the Patriots, are schooling that division anymore for the next coming years. I think that they got great young players. The Bills, Josh Allen's obviously their guy. Um, the Jets got Sam Darnold. They got Le'Veon Bell. They're going to get more pieces. And I just think that, Miami, whatever they do in the next 2-3 years, are going to be, at least a 500 team. So that's my opinion. And that's me kind of talking about the narrative about the Patriots. And if they're done, I think they are done winning championships. I just don't think they're done winning games. Um, Now, this weekend, going back to the NFL, 4 games, 8 teams left. We already know 3 teams that are going on. We already have our AFC championship game set up already, and we are yet to determine our NFC championship. But right now, Green Bay, as far as I know, was up 21-3. Currently, still up 21-3 against the Seattle Seahawks. I didn't really watch much football this weekend, but I saw a lot of highlights. I saw that from top to bottom, the 49ers just completely derailed the Vikings. That's the only game I really got to see this weekend. But the 49ers just dominated. I think they held the Vikings to 21 rushing yards total, which is beyond crazy, especially when they have Cook and Kirk Cousins has all those weapons. But I said this before. I think I said this last week. The 49ers are a complete team. They're a better, more complete team. Their defense is more complete. I think their quarterback is more complete. Their quarterback has experience. I mean, even though he hasn't played much, he's been behind Tom Brady. So I think that's enough to kind of help them. Kyle Shanahan, we know him with the Atlanta Falcons a couple years ago when he helped them go to the Super Bowl thanks to helping Matt Ryan. So I wasn't surprised when I found out that the 49ers blew them out. I thought the Vikings would give them much more of a battle, in my opinion. I wasn't surprised. I mean, I prefer the 49ers, and I think the 49ers are going to make the Super Bowl this year, and I don't see Seattle or Green Bay winning at all. And just so you guys know, I'm going live on this. Seattle has scored a touchdown. They're now down 10-21 against the Green Bay Packers. So that's going on right now, still in the third quarter. But anyways, going to the 49ers, or no, moving on to the Titans and the Ravens. I was surprised by this. I actually thought the Titans were not going to match up well against the Ravens because, the media tells me that, the Ravens are such a complete team. Their defense, playing at home, I think they went 14-2. So I just thought that the Ravens were red hot, but I think they messed themselves up with Week 17, sitting out half their roster, especially having a bye week. I felt like they would have benefited off like a first half of just like all their starters, and then the second half would just kind of blow them off and just. So I felt that especially having 3 weeks off compared to just a week off, I thought that they would have benefited a lot more. Than that. So I think that, the Ravens, I heard Lamar Jackson still went off. I think he still had 300 passing yards, 100 rushing yards. So he still went off to only score 12 points, especially a team that, was just blowing teams off the floor or off the field. But, credit to the Titans. Derrick Henry keeps coming back. I think his name is Derrick Henry. He keeps coming back. He's rushing and he's, just pounding through, the defensive line. So, I think it was a great win. I like it. I mean, I like the Titans. I think they're grit and grind. They're always a team that's always in the playoff hunt, but you never see them make it far other than yesterday where they are going to the AFC Championship. And I think that it's going to be a good matchup. They've beaten the defending Super Bowl champions and a number 1 seed, so, they shouldn't be taken lightly. I'll give you my prediction on the AFC Championship later on. But moving on to the Chiefs and the Texans, in my opinion, everybody knew the Chiefs were going to win, but just because of all the weapons and talent that Patrick Mahomes has to work with. Andy Reid is an excellent play caller, but to put up 51 points, I mean that's kind of crazy. But it was a high scoring game, 82 points in total, 31-51. I mean I think it's crazy. I think the Texans were up 21-0, and then just Patrick Mahomes lights it up. So it's crazy. Football. A lot of people think that after a team scores a touchdown, they go, oh, this game's over. But football is like basketball. It's a game of runs. It's a long game. The clock stops, so there's times to slow the game down. So credit to the Chiefs. I mean, they're going to the AFC Championship again. I right now, at the top of my head, I can't really pick a winner. But I really want to pick a winner. So going to Seattle and Green Bay, I saw the second quarter, some of the second quarter. First quarter. Green Bay scored on their first drive, I believe, and then Seattle kind of hit a field goal to kind of even it up a little bit. So defenses are playing great. I mean, it's cold in Lambeau. You can't really throw the ball as much just because when it gets colder, you got to run it more. So if you have a run game, usually you'll last better in the playoffs, in the postseason. I mean, I think that's credit to the Titans. Maybe that's why they're doing so great, because they have a great running game. Right now, 8:40 left in the third quarter. Seattle's still down. Green Bay has the ball. They're in Seattle 44. They're in Seattle territory, so it's going good for Green Bay right now. I'm actually rooting for Green Bay. Seattle, not really a huge fan of them, but it is what it is. I think Seattle's going to spark it up in the fourth quarter. I actually want to watch the fourth quarter because I actually want to see how Seattle does in the fourth quarter, because I do believe Seattle, they are going to show up in the fourth quarter. I think if it stays 10-21, and I think Seattle is still in the game. It's still a 2-possession game, but I think Seattle, don't count them out. I've been known to think about it like that, counting them out so quick. But yeah, kind of shifting away from the NFL, going to the NBA, just because I love basketball. Looking at the standings, I look at the Lakers, 32-7. Yesterday they had a game against OKC, and I thought they did really, really well. I when I found out about it, I was actually at a college basketball game, and I saw that LeBron was sitting out and Danny Green was sitting out, and I already knew Anthony Davis was going to be out. But I saw it, and when I saw that they were sitting him out, I said, well, that's already down 3 starters. The only thing you can do is just bring Rondo and, just kind of hope that you can, keep it as a close game, maybe grind it out with OKC. But I wasn't expecting a 41-19 first quarter, especially the way the Thunder have been playing. And I got to give credit to the Thunder. I got to give credit to Chris Paul. I've said this before, is when Chris Paul got traded to Oklahoma, I didn't know what Oklahoma was doing trading for Chris Paul because I knew they were not going to rebuild. And that was their plan. I mean, they got all these draft picks for Paul George. They got all these draft picks for Russell Westbrook. And I thought, okay, they're gonna draft for the next couple years. But seeing that, the Thunder, and especially getting Chris Paul, I knew they were going to be a 500 team. They were going to be riding around 500. They're going to be riding around, flirting with the 8th or 7th or 9th spot in the West. And so I'm actually surprised. I mean, they are 2 games under the 6th seed. They are in contention between the 2nd and the 7th seed. The games between 2nd and 7th is 5 games. So it's kind of crazy to really see how the West is shaping up. Utah's 27-12, Clippers are 27-12, Rockets are 26-12, Nuggets are 26-12, and Mavericks are 24-15. And again, like I said, going back to the game, the Thunder, I thought they were going to light them up just based on how they've been playing. I thought they were going to light up the Lakers. I mean, they had a great game against Houston. They blew them out of the floor throughout the entire game. I watched that game too, and I just thought it was amazing how the Thunder played Houston. I thought it was a great game, and I was actually fearful, thinking, reading last night or reading early yesterday that the Lakers are going to sit out Bron and Danny Green. So it was a good game. I was surprised to see that it was 41-19. I thought the Lakers came out. The Lakers broadcasters were talking about that the team came in with the mentality that, we're here to prove something. We're here to prove that we're a good supporting cast. We're here to prove that, we can win games without LeBron or AD. So they came out and they showed up. I mean, they were blowing OKC up by one point by 30. They ended up winning by 15, but that's just because typically teams take their foot off the gas. And, as a basketball coach, you can kind of see, you can kind of see your team put your foot off the gas. And that's really something that, coaches, especially myself during my season, were kind of, really cringy about. We'd have a big lead, and, it'd come down to 10, and then you go, oh, well, what's going on here? So that's something the Lakers have also gone through all season. I thought they were going to keep their foot on the gas. They were up 20 at halftime, and I said, they're going to go by 30 at some point. When they go by 30, it's over, because I know they're going to probably pull the strings for OKC. So OKC came back in the fourth quarter. I think they made it to a 10-point game at one point, but it was a good game. I was actually surprised that the Lakers won that game. So, yeah, I'm really proud of the Lakers. I'm obviously biased because of LeBron. So, yeah, it was a good game. And that's all I can really say about it. But, kind of looking at the West standings, something that I kind of love looking at every single day, even though I know the standings really don't change. The 8th, 9th, and 10th seeds, even the 11th and the 12th, they're very, very interesting because the Grizzlies have won 5 in a row, and, they're going crazy especially with Ja Morant. And I was actually a fan of Ja Morant before because I said, everyone was all about Zion, high flyer. And this is what the media tends to do, is they tend to fall in love with the high flyer, the dunker, the flashy guy. And they don't really pay much attention because, it's all for, views. We really don't care what, a well-developed all-round player does, or even just a point guard who can score, who can facilitate, who can do all this. Yes, he's not on SportsCenter top 10 doing all these dunks, doing all these flashy things. He's doing all these other things to kind of get his team to win. And so, especially when I see Zion, no offense to Zion, it's just that he's just a dunker. You take it's just like Giannis. Like, this is the one thing I've hated the media for, you know, for a long time, is they love this like dunker, like, and Giannis in the playoffs got shut down by Toronto. They closed the paint. They didn't let him do anything. After that, he was completely useless. They took him out of the series, and all they had to do was worry about their shooters. So for me, especially seeing a player like Zion, who has no outside game, who has nothing else other than his dunks and his lob catching, it's hard to fall in love with those guys, especially for me. I mean, I know the media and everyone else falls in love with them, but it's hard for me. And going back to Ja Morant, I'm not surprised that he's doing all this with the Grizzlies, and now the media is starting to get onto it. The Grizzlies, by any chance, are no threat in the playoffs at all. Like, I'm just going to say that right now. The 8th seed is not going to be a threat. At least they don't look like a threat right now in January, but they may be a threat later on. Like, they may catch a groove where it's like, okay, now they know how to play with each other. But Ja Morant, I'm not surprised he's doing this. I mean, he's more than just a flashy, flashy dunker. I know he can get up and jump, but he does everything. Like, he facilitates, he rebounds, he guards, he's really crafty with his handles, and that's the stuff I love, and that's why I'm always like in love with guys like Kyrie or Chris Paul. Guys that can do those, the things that the media really doesn't care about. And so I'm not surprised they're on a 5-game winning streak. They're in the 8th seed. They just beat the Spurs not too long ago to claim the 8th seed. And I wouldn't be surprised if they make the playoffs or even in contention close on. The Spurs and the Trailblazers, they're just a complete disappointment. And I'm not even, ashamed to say it. Like, the Spurs, DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge, all of Pop's guys are gone. Tony Parker, Manu, Tim, like, they're all gone. I don't think that they're a threat at all. I think if they do make the 8th seed, which I wouldn't be surprised if they catch a run at some point. They've just had a brutal schedule, and I thought, when I saw their schedule earlier, and I know their schedule doesn't get any easier in January, so I wouldn't be surprised. But if they catch fire like February, March, when teams are starting to rest, when they catch some teams lacking, I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak into the playoffs. In my opinion, I think the Spurs should make the playoffs over the Grizzlies or the Blazers, but they're not going to be a threat in my opinion. I think they're going to be an easy 5-game, 4-game sweep. So that's just my opinion on the Spurs. I'm actually surprised the Spurs are doing really bad. But the Blazers, again, it's not the mellow thing. It's just that team is so predictable. Like, they've been together for so long. They're just so predictable. They're going to go to Dame or CJ, and it's just so predictable. And it's a shame that the Blazers are like this. They're just so predictable. I mean, they've had Terry Stotts for a long time, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum for years now. And they're just so predictable. Their big man usually doesn't know how to shoot threes. I'm vouching for them to trade for Kevin Love because I think Kevin Love will spark, because, that's a big man you have to respect beyond the three-point line. So that's just my opinion about the Blazers and, the 8th, 9th, and 10th seeds, basically seeds that matter. I don't think the Suns or the Timberwolves are going to do anything. I think, if anything, they're going to start losing games. Looking at the Kings, they're 15-24. Looking at the Pelicans, 8th through 14th are separated by 4 games, just like the 2 and 7 seeds. They're all separated by a very, very small margin, in my opinion. Any team, if they go on a 5-game win streak, they can be up there. They can come up and challenge. But those teams are just interesting teams to watch. Good young talent. I mean, the Pelicans, young talent. Kings, young talent. Suns, young talent. I just think those teams are always going to be in the bottom because they don't have a legit star. I mean, Devin Booker, he doesn't know how to win. He's used to losing. And the Timberwolves, Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, they don't know how to win. The Kings, I don't think they've ever known how to win. The Pelicans, they don't know how to win. They're just not used to it. And they've had big marquee stars, and they've just lost them because they can't put the right pieces around them. So, the West is stacked as everyone wants to say it is. It's really top heavy. I want to say 1 through 6 seeds are legit. Everyone else is just, here for the show. We're here for the Lakers. We're here for the Clippers show. So, I'm excited, about the playoffs. They're going to come quicker. We're already in January. We're already almost mid-January. So, The playoffs are going to come quicker, especially in the West. I think the West, with those 6 seeds, it's going to be a battle in the second round for sure. Um, so I'm actually really, really happy about that, and I'm really excited to see the playoffs. And I'll be back with some more NBA talk. But right now, I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Now I kind of want to shift gears to the Eastern Conference in the NBA. Um, and one thing I want to mention is the Bucks. They're 7 games past the second seed, so they have a really good cushion. They can afford to lose 3-4 games, um, in the next 10. So they're fine. And I think the Bucks, like a lot of good young teams that have a young star, are great in the regular season. I think Giannis has been very, very fortunate with some good hot hand games with the 3 point. Giannis isn't my favorite player, and I think Giannis winning the MVP, yes, he deserved it last year, but I don't think he deserves it this year. I think you know they're just great in the regular season. I think postseason, they'll probably get past the first round in like 4 games, a 4 game sweep. I think the second round right now it's looking like Toronto or Philadelphia. That team, any of those teams healthy, is gonna give Milwaukee trouble. We've seen what Toronto and Philadelphia can do to Toronto or to Milwaukee, so it's not gonna be a walk in the park for Milwaukee. Right now, they're not my NBA Finals pick. I give it to the Celtics or you know the Miami Heat, the Raptors, or 76ers, teams that, to me, in my opinion, can be more proven in the playoffs. 76ers, Joel Embiid, when he comes back, hopefully they'll, kind of take a step. Um, the Raptors, when healthy, I think they're a championship winning team. Oh, they won a championship last year, so they'll have championship DNA. Um, I think Pascal Siakam can give teams a problem. Kyle Lowry, Fred Van Vliet, who's like blew this season off so far, who's been going off. The Miami Heat, who I think are a good young team. I think they're also a good regular season team, who I think in the playoffs will struggle when teams kind of condense themselves, having only one legit star who's not even really a star in Jimmy Butler. They will have some problems. I think the Celtics are more of a complete team to kind of give Milwaukee problems because I think they're just their size. I mean, Marcus Smart, who's tenacious, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward. I think it's not Aaron Baines, it's Daniel Tice. I think that team is gonna do a lot better in the playoffs this year. I mean, their record's definitely showing. But yeah, I think those teams can give problems to Milwaukee. I look at the Pacers. If Victor Oladipo comes back and he comes back to the player he used to be, I think Indiana, you can put them in the race for an Eastern Conference Final team, or even that's my ceiling for them, Eastern Conference Finals. So that's all I can really see them. I really don't see them giving Milwaukee like a legit fight. That's just my opinion. But 7 through 15 seeds in the East, in my opinion, none of them really sparked my interest. I mean, Brooklyn Nets, they were 18, they were 16 and 16 and 13, I think, when they were above 500. It's almost like, what are you doing? They lost a couple games. I think they get Kyrie back, or they got Kyrie back. Orlando, I think they're going to catch a spark at some point. The Hornets, I wouldn't be surprised if they go on like a 5 game win streak when their schedule lightens up. The Chicago Bulls, they're interesting. They're just missing like a Jimmy Butler type of player. I think Zach LaVine isn't the answer for them. I think they're a good team. I mentioned this in the last show where I went to a game and they were in the game with Utah. I think they just need like another good player around Zach LaVine to kind of finish off those games. A guy who's, even though Zach LaVine's not afraid to take the shot, I think they need a guy who's actually going to knock him down. Detroit, I don't know. Wizards, they're a fun team to watch. They're fun. They're just not good. The Cavaliers, I heard their coach calling them slugs, not thugs, or something like that. A big controversial, especially with Kevin Love. I really don't like what he's doing or what he did last week when he was, just kind of pouting on the floor. It's poor reflection on the team. It's poor reflection on, his image. I think Kevin Love has always been a great guy. I love Kevin Love. I mean, I have a Kevin Love jersey. I loved him when he was in Minnesota. I just think, giving that little fit last week wasn't a good image. It really doesn't taint him because he's always been a great, well-rounded player. New York, I mean, it's the Knicks. They've been a disappointment since, I think, the 2014 season. And the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young's the only guy that can facilitate and shoot, is the only guy I really don't like because he's too small, and I think he tries too hard to be great. I mean, everyone's like, oh, Trae Young's great. You're right. He has nobody around him. He has, no help. Of course he's going to be great. I mean, every bad team needs a good player. I think Kevin Durant said that, is that every bad team has a good player. Every team has a 20-point scorer, and I think Trae Young is it by natural selection because he was a top pick, and everybody loves that he can take a 35-foot jumper and make it every once in a while. So that's just it on the Eastern Conference. I'm kind of about the Eastern Conference. That's just my opinion on it. And yeah, and I, in my opinion, I think, I love basketball. I love talking about basketball, and it's fun. And I think it's going to be really fun, especially going into the All-Star break. I think a lot of teams are going to start slacking towards the All-Star break. Saturday night prime time starts next Saturday. I think it's Houston versus the Lakers at Houston. I know the Lakers got a tough road trip ahead of them. They got 2 easy games before they head on their East Coast road trip that I think is going to be very tough. I mean, they got Houston, they got Philadelphia, they got Boston. They got Boston on MLK Day. They got Houston on Saturday. I mean, and they got Philadelphia, I think, end up the road trip. But they go to New York. They go to Brooklyn. They should be good with those games. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they go. I think it's a 6-game road trip. I think they go 3-3 or 4-2. I think Houston or Boston, they can split one of those games. I'm more confident with them beating Houston than them beating Boston right now. I think the Knicks, they're going to beat the Knicks. I think Brooklyn, it'll be a good game, but I think they can beat Brooklyn. I know they lost last year when they went to Brooklyn. I think it was a close overtime game or something like that. But when they go to Philadelphia, in my honest opinion, I think they can beat Philadelphia, especially if Joel Embiid doesn't play. I think they'll rout Philadelphia. So yeah, I think it's a 5-game road trip. So they could potentially go 3-2, which in my opinion, is probably where it'll be, or 4-1. So yeah, those are my picks for the Lakers' next upcoming road trip. I think they possibly will go 4-1 or 3-4. Let me look at their schedule actually to kind of give my actual insight on it. So they go to Houston, then they go to Celtics, Knicks, Nets, 76ers. In my opinion, I'm giving them 4-1 in that 5-game road trip. Yeah, I think they can go 5-1, 4-1. My bad. Then they play the Clippers. I think that's a Saturday night game. Or Sunday or Monday night game. It's 9 p.m. at Lakers. But yeah, I mean, the Lakers got a tough skid next couple games. They see Houston twice within the next month. The Nuggets, the Celtics. So I think they got a pretty good schedule, in my opinion. I don't know. I'm really excited about this schedule for them. I think it's going to be a good test. So yeah. But yeah, anyways, I am kind of going off topic. My parents came back from Mexico and they brought all these candies. Carlos Quinto, or Carlos V is what I call it. Pretty good candy. Pretty good chocolate. They also bought this cafe cappuccino. My opinion, always great coffee. Coffee straight from the motherland of Mexico. Um, it's great. I mean, it's hot right now, so I'm not gonna drink it, but I just kind of wanted to promote those two things. If anyone sees my video, or if anyone is kind of sponsored by any of those. Also, Cheetos from Mexico. Cheeto Puffs, cheese Cheeto Puffs. Pretty good, straight from the motherland again. Always great to eat those candies once a year, just because they're not the healthiest thing, but they're the most tastiest things. So yeah, I'm gonna end this show with my picks for next week. I'll probably see you guys next week before the I'll probably upload another episode before the AFC and NFC championship game. But right now, Packers are up 28-17. I think I don't know who's got the ball right now. It's not telling me, but I'm really excited. I can't wait to watch this game after this video. Right now, San Francisco's kind of, in my opinion, I feel like San Francisco to vote for Green Bay, or even Seattle to kind of just finish off. Like I said, I'm iffy between the two. Both will definitely present a challenge to 49ers. I know the Packers in their second game, seeing a team are more likely to be more aggressive. They're always coached well in Green Bay, so they always play well the second time around, especially if they lost the first time around. I know they did that with the Cardinals a couple years back in the playoffs. But yeah, my early prediction for the Chiefs and the Titans, I'm gonna go with Chiefs, just because they can light it up. The Titans, I'll give you my opinions on it next week. But I kind of want to do a. Before I end, I kind of want to do a segment where I, talk about my top 5 NBA teams. So I'll start off with number 5. Number 5, I'm going to give it to the Miami Heat because they're playing great. They've lost 2 in a row. They've kind of given up a 2-game skid. Still comfortably in the 3rd seed. Could easily be 2nd seed right now. But they're doing well. Eric Spoelstra's coaching them well. Pat Riley, he might make a move within the next month, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So I'll give the Miami Heat my 5. Number 4, the Utah Jazz. They're on a 9-game win streak. They're 2nd seed right now. In my opinion, they're clicking on all cylinders, but I think their schedule's been relatively easy. I mean, some games they've every 9 plus or 10 plus game win streak, they face at least a valuable opponent. I think the Clippers are one of them. But they're playing well. They haven't lost since the new year, and I think the Jazz are clicking on all cylinders, and it's great for them. To kind of build a cushion between them and the 7th and 8th seed, where it kind of gets a little funky there. But yeah, Utah is my number 4. My number 3 is the Los Angeles Clippers. I used to love the Clippers back in Lob City days with Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, and Blake Griffin. They got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I don't get the whole resting Kawhi every back-to-back. I mean, every team plays like 15 plus back-to-backs a year, so 15 to 10 or 10 to 15 back-to-back. So it takes away a lot from the fans. I mean, I know Kawhi Leonard, I think he sat out against Chicago, so people who love Kawhi Leonard in Chicago didn't get to see him because he only comes one time around, so I think that's kind of dumb. I think resting him for, like a team, I'll say it again, a team against Chicago, resting him there, but if you're playing 2 marquee games, play those games. They're on national TV. I hate this. I love this load management thing when it's against an inferior team. But when you're resting against, it's a marquee game like Lakers versus Jazz, why are you going to rest your starters? Like, what's the point? Like, it's national TV. They made this game on national TV because it's a marquee game. Unless you're injured, unless you have something going on, play. And that's just my opinion on that. So I give the Clippers a third because, they're 27-12, even though they rest Kawhi Leonard a lot. When he plays, they win. My number two, right? Number two, I'm going to give it to the Milwaukee Bucks just because 35-6. I think, when Giannis sat out, they blew out a team. And Giannis is playing unbelievable, and I don't really want to give him the credit, but he is. But yeah, I give the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't really watch them as much, but their record kind of speaks to them, and I've kind of see the box scores and see they're typically blowing teams out. Great regular season team, of course. And my number one is the Lakers, not because I'm biased, but because I'm biased. I think Anthony Davis, LeBron was a trade that Adam Silver should have never approved because it is just completely unfair. The pick and roll, they haven't really figured out the pick and roll, and they're 32-7. Once LeBron and AD really figure out the pick and roll, the league's in trouble. Danny Green is starting to find his groove. Caldwell Pope, Rondo went off last night. Alex Caruso, and Dwight Howard understanding his role. JaVale McGee's playing out of his life right now, and it's just great right now to see the Lakers clicking on all cylinders. You put in Caldwell, you put in Quinn Cook, you put in what's his name, Troy Daniels, Jared Dudley. You put them in, they understand their roles, and that's a championship winning team when players understand their roles. Kyle Kuzma, can't forget about him. He went off for 36 points last week. So I give the Lakers that because, just in my opinion, I feel like they're the deepest team, and they've proved that they're the deepest team, especially yesterday against Oklahoma City, a team who was red hot. So that's my top five. It probably will be subject to change, but I want to do segments where I don't talk about sports as well. I want to do segments where I can talk about shoes, where I can talk about the best things that happen outside of sports, or the best never have moments. I want to get into that next week. The best moments that never happened, or the best teams that never won a championship, or in general, or the best things that never happened. So that's it for this week. I know it's a pretty long episode. I want to get all this talk out. I'll probably see you guys before the NFC and the AFC championships on Saturday. I'm going to try my best to kind of get on. I want to talk about other sports as well. So if you see anything about baseball, or if you even want to just have a conversation with me about this, I'm always available. And so this is me, Chris, signing off. Until next week.